Hello and welcome back to Worm Watts, where we harness the God-given power of compost worms to transform organic waste into amazing living fertilizer. Now today we're back in our Firstfruits bin, and it has been a little over a month. I think it's been about a month and a couple days since we were last in this bin. And the last time we were in here, we were feeding a pumpkin. So we checked on the croissants that we left, and we fed a pumpkin. And as I open this time, I do notice that we have quite a few flies in here. Not too bad. I wouldn't describe this as an infestation, but we do have some flies. You can also see from the lid, some of the pupa casings right there. And we got a fly obviously just flitting around as we speak. So it doesn't seem to be a bad infestation or anything like that, but we do have some flies. Not too surprising. We had quite a bit of food in here, and I think it might have been a little bit much for our worms, but we're gonna go ahead and dig down. Last time, one of the things that we did when we were in here as well was we went ahead and added moist bedding to the corners. So the original contents of this, the original inhabitants of this bin, the worms that were in here, are they're actually inside of some of these sacks. The more we dig into this, the more flies are emerging. So they've kind of bedded down in here, so the worms should be further down, and the bedding itself, the sawdust that we put in here as the bedding, has decent moisture to it. It's just tough to find the worms in this, honestly. But thankfully, over time, this jute sack is going to break down, and it's going to make it easier to navigate in here. I put that down originally to try to aid with. Whew, got some smell in here too. Must be the pumpkin. Yeah, there are a lot of flies down here as well. I'm just going to jostle this around a little bit, try to get them out. But goodness, yeah, deeper inside of the bin, we do have a bit of a fly. Whew, horde of flies coming out of there. They actually seem to be gnats, not fruit flies, but fungus gnats. And they are not pleasant either. But you can kind of see them. You can really see the glint of their wings. That's really the best way to spot them as they move around. Otherwise, they're kind of small and difficult to make out. I'm just gonna try to wave them away, and here we are. Here's the pumpkin that we set in here last time, and that seems to be gone. Actually, this is the shell of it, and you can see that they've really gotten to the inside of it, and it's basically hollowed out. So made quick work of that. Not sure how much of that the worms did or how much of that the flies did, but in here I've got some more castings when I lift up that portion of the worm blanket. And because the worm blanket has stayed so moist, it is breaking apart a lot more easily. And finally, we've got a worm. So nice to see that we've got some worms in here. They seem to be doing pretty well. but they do seem to still be in the original bedding that we brought them in. They seem to really like that, so I'm not sure what to think about that. Hopefully over time they will find their way out of that and move over to the rest of the bin. But for the time being, I'm going to toss that pumpkin back in there. I don't care for how it's still quite sticky down there, quite mucky, and I definitely want to air that out. But like I mentioned, it is inside of it's actually inside of a jute sack. And on the outside of that jute sack, actually down here you can see some worms. They seem to be doing well. And this is on the outside, and they seem to actually be traversing, going in and out of the jute sack, which is great. On the outside of the jute sack, that's where we put the sawdust that we added in, and it's got a decent moisture. So I'm glad that they're able to get in and out of this. It doesn't seem to be posing any problems. So I'll leave it as is. This bin is plenty moist, which is really going to help with the breakdown of the jute sack, and just overall, I'm hoping that this, I'm hoping that the worms will help to break that jute sack down and help to kind of even out the material in here. So, but I'm sure they're going to need some time to do that. But the moisture in here is helping. Yeah, I don't really have too many additions here. I will probably go ahead and add in our grit, our crushed eggshell grit. I like to do that each time I'm here. And given the fact that we have a lot of food breakdown, it just kind of helps to buffer the pH in the bin a little bit and make sure that things aren't getting too acidic. And additionally, I'll pour some more into the actual body of the bin where we've seen some of the worms at. That way they can access it a little bit better. And for the heck of it, I actually have this grape stem from earlier that I have yet to add into any bin, and just toss that on top for what that's worth, and we'll see what they do with that. I expect that to kind of stay there for a while. It's not particularly attractive or anything, but I know that it'll eventually get broken down, and it just gets it off my hands. So I'm happy with where the bin is right now. We'll go ahead and leave it as is. Honestly, I think it could go another month, and then we could check on it then. I think that'll help for the flies to die down a little bit as we work through the organic material already in here, and it'll leave a lot more browns, which will be less attractive to the flies and should suit the worms just fine. Again, moisture seems fine, so I'm not going to add any more of that, and we'll call that a day. So thanks for joining us in our first fruits bin. Just as a reminder, this is the first bin that we harvested. It'll probably be a while until this one's ready to harvest again, but I'm excited that that at least it's recovering from the moisture mismanagement. Next time I'm in here, I'll also try again to look inside of this jute bag and make sure that that it's not staying in that mucky condition. And if it is, we might look to fluff the bin, adding in some sawdust directly into the areas that are a little bit more mucky, and hopefully that'll help to dry those out. So we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.